Hey guys, happy Friday. Welcome to the first episode of making homemade ginger beer. Ginger beer is so good. Ginger beer is the same as ginger ale, just with a little more kick and a little less sugar, a little more ginger. We love it. Well, Emma and I love it. The rest of the family, not quite as much. My mom loves it. Mimi, if you're watching, you should definitely follow along. And there are some good, the Reed's ginger beer that you get in the store is really good. Especially the extra strong stuff. Super good. So here's the deal. There's only two things that you have to make ginger beer. White table sugar and ginger. Okay? For 1 gallon, well, I'll get into that in a minute. Hold that thought. There are a few optional things that you might want to have. A little bit of yeast. You're zooming in. Brewer's yeast, champagne yeast. I have this from making hard cider in the fall, which will be a future episode coming soon. This just speeds up fermentation a little bit. So let's talk about fermentation. Fermentation is a natural process where there's natural yeasts on the skin of the ginger, and it eats the sugar and poops out carbon dioxide and a little bit of alcohol. So if you're making hard cider or whatever, you put a ton of sugar in, because the higher the sugar content, the more the alcohol at the end. Quick public service announcement. Depending on the sugar and depending on how long you leave it, this ginger beer will have a trace of alcohol in it. It'll have 0.05%, which is basically 10 beers worth of alcohol. I'm sorry. You would have to start that over.
Whoa! That's a lot of ginger beer.
You would have to drink 10 bottles of ginger beer to equal 1 bottle of beer. Does that make sense?
There
Jesse?
we go.
With me? Okay, thanks, buddy. Okay, so that's where we're at. The process is there's a primary fermentation and a secondary fermentation. The primary fermentation is where we're going to start. That's the yeast reacting with the sugar. Basically, we want it to eat all of the sugar up. So even though you're putting a lot of sugar in this, it will be gone. The sugar will all be gobbled up by the yeast at the end. With me so far? Okay, let's see. So the recipe is for 1 gallon of water, 12 cups of water. 12 cups in a gallon? I'm imagining I think it might be 8, that's okay.
Wait.
We're gonna use 12 cups. 12 cups of water, 500 grams of ginger, and 350 grams of sugar. Okay?
16 cups.
There's 16 cups. Okay, so not, thank you. I knew that.
Jake also knew that.
Anytime you want to help out, buddy. 12 cups of water, not quite a gallon. 500 grams of ginger, 350 grams of sugar. Deal? Deal. We want all of the ginger to be chopped, for sure. It has to at least be chopped. And if you've got a grater like this, that's great. We're going to grate, grate a quarter of it, because that just helps. It'll eventually get the flavor out, but the more that's grated is awesome. And lemons, did I not mention lemons? Lemons are also optional. We use a quarter or a half of a lemon per gallon, per 12 cups. Okay?
It's not very much lemon.
Yeah, we just want a hint of lemon. Right? So you can use as much as you want. Rachel's ginger beer in Seattle is super, super delicious. Theirs is pretty lemony. We used 1 habanero pepper in a gallon last time, and it was good. It had a little bit of kick at the end. It was really good. I don't have any of those right now. Okay, let's talk about containers. So, like I said, fermentation is the natural yeast reacting with the sugar, and the byproduct is carbon dioxide and a little bit of alcohol. Carbon dioxide means fizziness, bubbles, and pressure. So if you mix all this together and put it in a container and seal it tight, that's not good. It's gonna have a crazy amount of pressure. It could break the bottle, warp the plastic, whatever. So you need a way to let some pressure escape. I've got a bunch of these cool breather valves, which you fill with water, and it lets carbon dioxide escape without letting oxygen back in. You don't want oxygen back in because it sort of contaminates the process. This is a super cool big fermentation jug. I think it's 6 gallons. The lid has one of those built right in. These little guys, I think they're just called one-way valves, I think. I'll follow up with a link to these. They're a couple bucks on Amazon. They come in 2 packs, and some of them have, well, they come with corks with a hole in them, so they'll just fit right onto containers that have a small opening. And we'll talk about these flip top bottles later. These are for after fermenting. Okay, let's get cracking. Oh, sorry, before we get cracking. You don't have to have these, but if you use a mason jar or whatever type of a lid, you're gonna want to at least leave it not tight, resting there. Some people put a little weight on there so that it'll allow it to burp, but it just keeps pressure on so that air doesn't get in. Like I said, probably worth ordering a couple of these, super cheap, and then for sure. The other fun part is if you have them, you can watch the bubbles, you can watch the process. Okay, we are gonna use this big container because it's easy, and we'll see how much ginger emigrated. See how many small gallons, 12 cup gallons we can make.
12 cup.
Okay, like I said, chopped ginger. If you've got a grater, awesome. Use the big settings. Don't peel your knuckles off. Leave the skin on. The skin is what has the yeast on it. Okay. Hopefully, if you watch my sourdough videos, you bought one of these puppies. Digital scale that measures grams is definitely going to make things easier. Zero that puppy out. Jesse, here we go. Okay. Ready? You want to watch the numbers for me, buddy? What are we at? Is that 490?
That's $4.95.
Okay, so there's 500 on the dot. Jake, did you have something you want to tell the rest of the class? What am I doing?
Well, they're probably
Put
not
on
going to
the
be using that big of a
spot.
thing.
No, 500 grams for a container that can hold 12 cups.
Okay.
Right? If you have a smaller container, you could just divide up the ratio. So for 6 cups, it would be 250 grams. For 3 cups, it would be 125 grams. Right? Make sense?
You should pick either cups or grams.
Of water.
It's so confusing.
So
Oh, got it.
for 12 cups of water, 500 grams. Okay? That's the ratio. 500 grams of ginger for 12 cups of water. What am I doing wrong?
Well, there's 16 cups in a gallon.
I know, I forget the gallons.
Okay, great.
Pretend I never said gallons. Sorry. Here's the first 12 cups of water worth. Okay? Sorry that I'm making it more confusing. I'm going to put a little check mark. Okay? We're gonna need 12 cups. Now, let's see how many of these we can do. By the way, 12 cups is close enough to a gallon. It doesn't even matter, right? This is just gonna be flavored water. Don't even worry about it. But it doesn't seem like we're gonna have much more than 2 of these puppies. Yeah. 460. $501, okay? 12, yeah, extra. It's good. Don't even worry about it.
Extra strong.
Extra's good. Extra strong. 24, that was 1,000 grams of chopped and grated ginger. How many cups of water are we gonna put in, Rose?
24.
24, boom, okay. Now that I did this, what did I do wrong? It's easier if you put the sugar in first and dissolve it. Have the water be a little bit warm, it'll help dissolve the sugar, not a big deal. We will just stir this quite a bit before we let it rest. You don't want the sugar to sit on the bottom and not dissolve, okay? How much sugar do we want, Jess?
You tell me.
700 grams. 350 per 12 cups. $670. It's hard to read upside down. How am I doing? 680. 705. Nice. Okay. Now, while Emma fills this up with 24 cups of water, I'm going to talk about some other stuff. This goes to 4. 24 divided by 4 is what? 8. So 8 of those puppies. Medium temp. Right down the middle. Okay? What's going to happen is we're going to stir this like crazy, and then we're going to put our lid on. Like I said, if you've got a breather valve, put it on tight. If you don't, just let the lid rest on there. This is going to want to be in a cool, dark place. Roughly 60 degrees is what we're going for about a week. And we'll see the yeast start to react. We'll see the bubbles. But if you've got a garage or a basement, someplace where there's not dramatic temperature changes, ideally 60 to 65 degrees for 7 days. Then most of the sugar is going to be all the way gobbled up by the yeast, and then we will put it into our secondary bottles like these or like mason jars or whatever. Okay, so but let's see, before we wrap up, this is for cider. I would use 1 packet of these for 5 gallons. I'm literally just going to sprinkle a little bit of yeast. I'm going to use maybe a fifth of this for my 2 gallons worth. Just a few granules just to get a little more yeast going than is natural on the ginger. And so not necessary, we just want to speed it up a little bit. Okay? See you in a couple days to check on how things are going. Thanks guys, peace.